What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about Sonic X Shadow's Generations because this is a project that is extremely good, and I feel like it's going to kind of shut up the Sonic haters. There is definitely this weird obsessive backlash, this weird group of people that just do not like the blue blur ever since it initially came out. Like, I'll fully admit that, of course, there are bad Sonic games. I'm not here to defend Sonic, but this one is just so good. It's so polished. It's kind of capping off this new generation of extremely good Sonic games. Over the course of the last couple of years, I've kind of been coming back and falling in love with Sonic all over again. Stuff like Sonic Frontiers completely blew my mind. Stuff like Sonic Mania Plus, it really kind of lit this fresh fire for Sonic in my heart. But this one, Sonic X Shadow's Generations, is essentially two complete games packaged together for $50. And I want to talk about it because I gotta admit, Sega, I am very impressed. But let's talk about that. I hope you're having a great day. And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So we're going to talk about this separately because these two chunks of the game are very, very different. But let's start by talking about Sonic Generations Remastered because this is a much smaller piece of the video, but this is a pretty cool remaster. If you never played the original version of Sonic Generations, it's a great concept. Essentially, there's a time break, and so 2D Sonic and 3D Sonic team up. It's kind of a retro remix, a greatest hits of some of the coolest Sonic levels of all time, from Green Hill Zone and Hydro City and Casino and everything like that, but now coming back. And so these different renditions are fun. The upgraded graphics, I must admit, it still looks like how it did back on the Xbox 360, at least according to my eyes. Maybe it's just that it's been too many decades since I initially played it, but the upgraded visuals, I can't really tell. Instead, the cool extra part of Sonic Generations is they've added in new unlockables, new collectibles, new hidden stuff like chows in the levels like that, extra little nods and stages. Now, I think that's nice, but I'll be honest, I bought this with my own money because I wanted to play the new Shadow stuff. I love Shadow. I think he is hilarious and goofy. The fact that there's like an emo goth hedgehog that carries a gun sometimes, that's awesome. The Shadow campaign is so good. I'm kind of just so impressed they decided to do this because this is essentially retro DLC. It is straight up the exact same vibe and tone of the already fantastic Sonic Generations, but now as Shadow. Now, they like to call this Shadow Evolved because the way this works is that there are cutscenes, there's new levels, there's a lot of new content, but as you play through these, you keep unlocking these special Doom abilities. These allow you to do stuff like stop time with Chaos Control, grow wings and fly, or surf on water by getting like this weird venom goopy looking thing, electric eel. Like, it's so cool to see these extra skills, and there is this fun evolution to the way the character works throughout the campaign, because at the start, you only have Chaos Control, which is already a very classic Shadow ability. It allows you to stop time. So when you're playing this, you can stop time, and it'll actually stop the clock on the levels, meaning that a lot of the time trial stages, there's sort of a tactic to timing out how you're going to use your Chaos Controls. I love that mechanic, but as you get these extra skills, like flight, for example, you can actually go back to the stages you've already beaten and now fly over portions of it that were the most annoying or time consuming and actually save time on the clock to get a better rank. Now, as I record this, I've beaten all the levels, I've beaten the bosses, but I don't want to say I've finished it because obviously with any Sonic game, you've finished it when you've gotten an S rank on every single stage. And while I have gotten a decent amount of S ranks, which is basically a combination of beating it fast and having a lot of rings and stuff like that, I still haven't fully S ranked every single stage, but I'm still just enjoying trying to actually progress. Now, the new story of this is also incredibly cool. They're bringing back Doom. Now, this dude is a creature that, I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to get into spoilers, but he's been around for a bit. He's kind of a retro villain as well because he's sort of tied to the creation of Shadow and all the essences and Shadow's very tragic origin story. They kind of explore that in the same way that Sonic Generations works. Like, the main game, of course, is a big remix of retro Sonic, 2D Sonic, 3D Sonic. They do that with this. They have this interesting time break, these like fractal prism weird time warps that let us go to these different stages and additionally see these different moments from the main story of Shadow from a different angle. I like that. Now, I will say that without spoiling anything, that the conclusion of this story to me just doesn't fully make sense, doesn't fully pay off. I mean, whenever you're having a time travel story after you've already had like 20 games, it's kind of difficult to rewrite the timeline or redo certain moments. But even if you kind of don't care about the story, the levels themselves are fantastic. I think the part of this that definitely impressed me the most is not only are all these stages incredibly fun, but it's cool that we actually do 2D and 3D stages the way that the main Generations campaign works. There are 2D Shadow levels and 3D Shadow levels, and they're both incredibly fun. A lot of times they not only have, of course, completely different layouts, they do have sort of different puzzles, different vibes, different unlockables. All of that feels incredibly, incredibly good. But the one gripe I have about this game, of all of this, I really, really enjoy it. The one gripe I really, really, really have is that there is still that thing called the white void, the white space, where in order to unlock new stages, you physically walk to them. A lot of times you're going around in this like 3D space, doing springboards and grinding bars and stuff like that. The new white space that they have for Shadows is very obviously based on Sonic Frontiers. It's much more opened up. And I don't know, I really don't like that. Something about walking around to unlock stages in this big white void, sometimes it just didn't really make sense to me. Like, maybe I'm just being a Luddite here, but it feels like something about the way it tried to convey where you're supposed to go didn't always fully make sense. And that does kind of suck. Anytime I'm stuck sort of just staring at the objective and trying to figure out what springboard dash combo gets me to it, that kind of stuff is not fun. I do kind of wish that there was an option to just have a straight up stage select. Like, once you unlock stuff, you can just stage select it. But I do wish I could just say, I don't care about this open world thing. I want to have level, unlockable. Because to me, I'm playing this for these cool stages. Now, the other part of it that I really, really was blown away by is all the new Shadow stages. So when Sonic Generations came out, obviously there were not a ton of Sonic games at that point, but they managed to take the very best levels for all those games. But in the 15 years since Generations came out, now, of course, we've had a lot of new, completely awesome Sonic stuff. So these new Shadow stages are remixing a bunch of stuff that was not made homaged in the original game. And it's cool to see levels that are referencing Frontiers and Mania, or stuff that's referencing Sonic Forces, which I didn't personally like. But even the Sonic Forces stage is actually better than it was in the original game. That's very neat. This is the kind of game where I am impressed by how much they managed to take a tried and true formula and improve it. If you're a Sonic fan, you're definitely going to buy this, but I'm actually going to just plead to people who typically don't care about Sonic, go watch some extra gameplay of it. Watch a streamer play it. Watch somebody play this, or even just watch the trailer, because this is the kind of game that I think is going to be exactly your vibe. If you grew up with Sonic the Hedgehog and you liked the games, or even just played them with a passing fondness, I think this game is a brilliant gateway to getting back into Sonic. I do feel like if you played this game, if you beat this game, if you love this game, you can go straight to playing Frontiers or Mania or anything else, and it's not only going to make sense, but you're going to get it. I loved this game. I loved it way more than I thought I was going to, but what do you guys think about Sonic X Shadows Generations? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.